This is Slickery Trigger for Rebel Road Tactical. With proper care and feeding, your pistol will be ready when you need it. There to save your life. Shouldn't your gear be that good? Whether you need a holster for comfortable everyday carry or a tough-as-nails holster for your next training course, Rebel Road Tactical has what you need. Check us out on the web at rebelroadtactical.com.
In these uncertain economic times, you've got to do whatever you can to save money. One of our biggest expenses can be our cars, especially when unexpected repair bills hit. Not anymore. If you own a vehicle with less than 130,000 miles, is less than 12 years old, has a warranty...
Is debt beating you down? You need discipline. You need the Debt Ninja. If you've been caught in a financial trap and need to be set free, then you need the Debt Ninja. Want to stop those harassing collection calls, start saving thousands in interest and fees, and get out of debt fast? Then you need to call the Debt Ninja. The Debt Ninja will find the best companies across the country that will help you consolidate all your bills into one easy payment, reduce your payments by 30 to 50%, and get you out of debt fast. If you have unsecured debt of $10,000 or more, such as credit cards, loans, or medical bills, call the Debt Ninja for a free 15-minute consultation.
Call 800-826-1246. 800-826-1246. That's 800-826-1246. Call today.
The Debt Ninja.
About to expire or even no warranty at all, you could stop paying for car repairs. Roadside assistance, towing, and rental coverage are all included. Don't wait for the next repair. Make one free call right now to see if you qualify. If your vehicle is less than 12 years old, has less than 130,000 miles, even if it's out of warranty, paying for car repairs can become a thing of the past. Call us right now and get your car protected before your next repair bill hits. Get protection and no more repair bills. Call 800-696-1030. Again, 800-696-1030. That's 800-696-1030. 800-696-1030.
All writers are prone to becoming so attached to our characters and stories that we struggle to see why a passage may not be working. It takes another set of eyes to help us nurture our writing to full maturity. At Black Wolf Editorial Services, we strive to enable writers to develop and grow, shaping stories into masterpieces that can stand the test of time. Editing services are provided for all genres and all age categories. Services range from critiques of the short story through to the line edits of the full-length novel and copy editing for those preparing for publication. We also offer assistance on generating a writer's bio for your websites, as well as help with those book blurbs and promotional material. We won't abandon you to the masses. We want to celebrate with you in your successes. Black Wolf Editorial Services, nurturing your writing into maturity. For a full list of services and prices, visit us at blackwolfeditorial.com.
You're listening to the Spark Radio Network, internet radio like you've never heard before. Innovation, creativity, and imagination are all said to begin with a spark. So fasten your seatbelt and take the ride of your life and listen for the spark. The leader in talk radio on the internet, right here on K98Talk.com.
My name is Jessie. I'm a United States Special Forces widow. This gives me a unique perspective on the world around us. If you're willing to listen, I'll tell you how I see it, and I won't pull any punches. This is my POV, which stands for Point of View. All right, how y'all doing out there? I feel like it's been so long since I've been with you, and it was just Friday night. I know, you got a double dose of me on Friday if you listen to both America Off the Rails and my podcast. Now, first of all, for anyone trying to tune into K98Talk.org, it seems our server's got its allergies in a bunch, and it's not wanting to work for me. So I've contacted tech support to see what they can do to hurry up and fix it. But for now, you can find me on Spreaker. I tweeted out the link. My Twitter handle is at Jessie's POV. So please find me there. All right. Now, on to what's going on in this world. Because trust me, there's a lot. And it's not all U.S. election cycle. Trust me, you know how much I cover the election when I'm doing my own show. Now, when I'm on with Rick, that's a whole other story. So, but you know how much I cover it for the election, for my show. I try and avoid it. I really do. I like to know what else is going on in the world. All right. Today, Monday, June 6th. Happens to be the start of Ramadan. So for any of my Muslim listeners out there, I'm not going to try and mispronounce Arabic. I'm just going to say I wish you a very faithful and outstanding Ramadan. I don't know what the proper greeting is, so... Alright, now... you know I tend to have a military beat. I'm always chasing stuff with the military. So, let's take a look at the military. This is Turkey, Syria. At a joint news conference with Kenyan President Uhuru Kenyatta in Nairobi on the 2nd of June, Turkish President Erdogan said that 3,000 men under the Syria Democratic Forces were participating in the operation to capture the Islamic State-held town of Manbij. I hope I pronounced that correctly. I do my best with these pronunciations. Erdogan said that some 2,500 of the SDF fighters were Arabs, while around 450 were Kurdish People's Protection Units, YPG, the armed wing of the Democratic Union Party, PYD, in Syria. What we've been told is that the YPG will predominantly act as logistical force here, and the main force will be Arabs, Erdogan said. He said that Turkish intelligence is watching closely to make sure Arabs will be the main force in the operation. All right, for those of you who don't keep up on your Middle Eastern affairs, Turks don't like the Kurds. Kurds aren't too fond of the Turks because, well, they've always tried to kill them. Saddam Hussein was no fan of Kurds either. So, you know, come on. Kurds, for those of you that don't know, they are Christian. Yes, they are Christian, predominantly Christian, and other religions living in the world of the Middle East. So, sorry I had to let my cat in. My cat was driving me crazy. So if you heard the door squeak in the background, had to let the cat in. Cat was going bonkers, and it's raining outside. No wonder cat doesn't want outside. All right, back to Manbij. The military council issued the statement on June 2nd. We urge our people in the city of Manbij to stay away from all centers and positions where Daesh, that's what they call ISIS over there, terrorists are present, because they will be military targets for our forces. We call them to take measures to ensure their safety. It's hard to overstate the importance about the ethnic composition of the forces, okay? The stability of the U.S. coalition hinges on the appearance of Arab leadership of the anti-Assad forces south of the Turkish border. I can't overstate this enough. If it looks like it's the U.S. versus Assad, it's going to snowball. We could be looking at World War III, at least in my opinion. Do I want World War III? No. In fact, I've got a World War II remembrance set up for the other half of the hour. All right, so the ethnic political correctness of the Turkish and American statements maintains the appearance of coalition unity. Like I said, maintains the appearance of. It's unlikely the condition has changed, especially when the stakes are this high. So Erdogan's government's on public record multiple times proclaiming that Turkey would never allow Syrian Kurds to conduct military operations west of the Euphrates River. It explains the prominent months of Arab leadership in Turk and American statements, apparently a Kurdish logistics role does not invite a Turkish attack. Turkey can support an Arab-led operation. Like I said, this is a very tricky area. I mean, come on. We've worked with the Kurds. We've armed the Kurds. We haven't given the Kurds the best of things because at first we were trying to run stuff through Baghdad. I don't know if that's still the case, but we know how effective Baghdad is at getting anything anywhere. All right. So, general fictions are essential to the conduct of international relations. Yeah, fiction is part of international relations. Like, there's still a ceasefire in Syria. Anyone believe that one? Anyone? I don't think so. I don't even think my cat buys that one, even though he's not around to ask. Okay. I mean, the Russian Reconciliation Center has said that on June 4th, armed militant units were fighting. Well, that was near Aleppo. The attack was launched from the Ansar neighborhood, occupied by the so-called moderate opposition forces. I mean, remember, Syria is backing up Assad. We're backing up Assad. We don't want Assad. Russia does. I mean, it's just absolute chaos. Now, you look at a map. Remember, we have forces in Syria. Manbij is just across the border into Turkey. Aleppo is a little bit, I'm guessing, to the east here. And Raqqa's to the southwest. Yeah, we've all heard of Raqqa by now. Russian bases are all the way over along the Mediterranean Sea. So, and Damascus is down closer to the border with Lebanon and Jordan. Like I said, it's hard to describe a map. I would encourage you to pull one up. In fact, I think I will tweet out the picture of this one momentarily. All right. Our good friends Boko Haram aren't leaving people alone either. No, June 4th, a large force of Boko Haram fighters riding in pickup trucks, usually when they're armed, they're referred to as technicals, attacked the city of Bosso, B-O-S-S-O. The defending forces from Niger retreated to their camp, and then and they were some 20 kilometers outside the city. However, they regrouped and counterattacked. 10 hours after the attack began, Niger's defense and security forces were in control of the city. The attack left 34 dead, including 2 Nigerian soldiers, and 67 injured. That's a lot. That's a lot. So now, for those of you who, like me, had to look this up on a map, Bosso is on the edge of the region. It's right near the border with Chad. It's kind of a small map, but what can I say? This is the first serious attack in Niger since the 31st of March, when Boko Haram cell killed 6 Nigerian soldiers at a town just west of Bosso. Bosso. I'm not trying to say Bozo, I'm trying to say Bosso. This is also the first significant Boko Haram attack in months. It was not a suicide bombing. The performance of the local Nigerian forces is something to look happily upon. Their losses were small, the force didn't panic, and it wasn't routed. It recovered, regrouped, and regained the city. That means they're getting it together. All right, now we're still on our trip around the world, folks. So, Mali, China. Yes, there was the Chinese People's Liberation Army sent a special medical team to Mali on June 2nd to join Chinese peacekeepers there to help deal with casualties from the terrorist attack on the a terrorist attack on the 31st of May. This is according to Chinese media. The team will work with the United Nations Multi-Dimensional Integrated Stabilization Mission in Mali and the Mali government to ensure the safety of the peacekeepers. All right, a little background on this one. There were two separate attacks that took place in the GAO area. Terrorist attack, an outpost of the United Nations Multi-Dimensional Integrated Stabilization Mission, as well as the services of a local provider for the UN Mine Action Service. One peacekeeper from China was killed, and a dozen UN personnel were injured when a vehicle-borne improvised explosive device, commonly referred to as a VBIED, VBIED, detonated at the United Nations Multi-Dimensional Integrated Stabilization Mission Camp. It's a mouthful, but their acronym's even worse. In the second incident, one civilian contractor from France and two security guards from Mali were killed when the camp of a UN contractor in another area of the city was attacked by unknown assailants. Al-Qaeda in the Islamic Maghreb, AQIM, said members of a branch led by the Algerian jihadist Mukhtar al-Mukhtar were behind Tusi's attacks. So we've got Al-Qaeda acting up in Mali. Yay. Now, these are the first casualties in the Chinese UN contingent. China's lost 15 peacekeepers since 2000. The Mali UN peacekeeping mission is considered the most dangerous in the world since its formation in 2013. Let me reiterate that. The Mali UN peacekeeping mission is the most dangerous in the world. Since its formation in 2013, 65 peacekeepers have died. And this was it was set up when French forces that rescued the Malayan government in 2012 transferred security responsibilities to Malayan forces, and the UN mission in 2014. They left the security job unfinished. Where have we heard that before? Leaving a security job unfinished. Wait. Hundreds of Al-Qaeda fighters scattered and went to ground in the northeast, in the area near the Algerian border, where terrorists found shelter, and now, of course, they're trying to make a comeback. All right, for those of you who don't keep up on your terrorist news, summer equals fighting season. If you are in the northern hemisphere, summer equals fighting season. So, what can I say? But, yeah, this isn't pretty. Now, other military news. It seems our troops over in Japan have not been behaving themselves. No, it seems they've been doing anything but behaving. So, the United States Navy has banned all alcohol in Japan for its sailors in Japan, on and off base. I don't know how they're going to monitor it, if other troops are allowed in there, or is this a precursor to all Department of Defense forces having a ban on alcohol? Time will only tell. Guys, soldiers, any of you out there listening got buddies in Japan? Tell them to rein it in. Running around and killing Japanese civilians and getting into car accidents while drunk does not help U.S.-Japan relations. I mean, really? Really? Do I have to explain this to you? All right, I do have a little audio on this. Let's take a quick listen.
Meeting with Japanese Defense Minister Nakatani, the Secretary reiterated his regrets over the death of a young woman on Okinawa and confirmed the department's intent to work with Japanese officials on measures to prevent such tragedies in the future. As you know, there was another deeply unfortunate incident over the weekend, a vehicle accident involving a U.S. sailor on Okinawa. The Department of Defense deeply regrets that this accident took place, and our thoughts and prayers are with those injured and their families. In response to this latest event, U.S. Naval Forces Japan has issued additional restrictions on naval personnel in Japan, including curtailment of off-base liberty and a prohibition on alcohol consumption on or off base. These restrictions will help prevent future incidents by ensuring that each service member understands how their actions affect the U.S.-Japan alliance, which is essential to the security and stability in the region. The Department remains committed to working with the government of Japan and the people of Japan to prevent such incidents in the future.
All right, now, I haven't been able to find any rumors or sources that tell me whether or not this is going to be a military-wide thing in Japan, but it doesn't bode well. It really doesn't. I mean, there's 18,600 U.S. sailors in Japan. This only makes the Japanese want us out. But those bases, and I know you're sitting here going, so why do we have troops over there anyway? It's for regional stability. And you look at me and go, what do you mean regional stability? Japan isn't allowed to have a strong military. Remember, I've covered this stuff in the South China Sea and other stuff. Since the peace treaty from World War II prohibits them from having much more than a national police force. That's why we have bases over there. We basically said, we'll help you protect and defend your country. Because you can't. Our treaty won't let you. And yes, I know I'm bouncing all over the globe here. Trust me, we're not done tripping over the globe. We're going to trip over the globe for another 7-8 minutes, and then we're going to discuss something that happened 70 years ago today. And that would be D-Day. It was actually 72 years ago today. Sorry about that. I had my years off because a lot of the stuff I was pulling for audio for the D-Day stuff was from 70 years. But we are losing World War II vets at an alarming rate. If you know one, get them to talk. Get them to tell their stories. And if you don't know how, best advice I can give, get them another member of the military to talk to. Soldiers will talk to soldiers like they will talk to no one else. So, all right. Our server still has its allergies in a bunch. I don't know what's going on with it. I'm just getting an error message and no one's gotten back to me yet. So, I'm just going to keep on keeping on because I don't want to let the lack of the server broadcasting me on the K98talk.org website getting me into a bunch. I'm still live on Spreaker, and as usual, I will be available for podcast and download on iTunes. Yes, Jessie's POV is on iTunes. I didn't tell you guys that, did I? Figured I'd sneak it in one day. Today seemed like a good day. All right. Now, 2 more stories to cover. Let's see if I can get through them before bottom of the hour. All right. There's advance on the ISIS strongholds, which means the U.S. and Russia are eventually going to converge. Because Russia doesn't like ISIS much, but they don't like the, quote, moderate Syrian forces either. This isn't going to be good. So, alright, a 2-pronged advance to capture key urban strongholds of the Islamic State group and its self-styled capital, Raqqa, has underlined a quiet convergence of strategy between the U.S. and Russia to defeat the extremists, with Syria Kurds emerging as the common link. The dual advance towards Raqqa by the Syrian army from the southwest and the predominantly Kurdish Syria Democratic Forces from the northwest puts further pressure on militants as they fend off simultaneous attacks on bastions such as Fallujah and potentially Mosul in neighboring Iraq. The Kurdish involvement is proving vital to the interests of both Moscow and Washington. Yes, the Kurds are helping both sides. They don't care who helps them, they just want to survive. For the U.S., the predominantly Kurdish SDF has proven the most capable actor in northern Syria in defeating the extremist group, a point it made when its predecessor, the Kurdish SDF, a point made when its predecessor, the Kurdish YPG, held off militants in Kobani in 2015. Yes, the Kurds have been side by side fighting with us. For Russia, the SDF advance has drawn ISIS fighters away from the front with the Syrian government and allowed the Kremlin's allies in Damascus to advance, showing that Moscow is participating in the battle against the Islamic State group. When the media is focused on the battles between Iraqi government forces and ISIS militants in the city of Fallujah west of Baghdad, the Syrian army on Saturday reached Raqqa province for the first time in almost 2 years. The Syrian government has had no presence in Raqqa since August 2014 when ISIS overran the Tabqa air base and killed scores of government soldiers in a massacre they documented on video. We all know ISIS puts out horrible videos. Horrible, disgusting, gut-wrenching videos. The provincial capital, Raqqa, became the militants' first captive city. Backed by intense Russian airstrikes, Syrian troops began their advance toward the province Wednesday, the same day that U.S.-backed SDF forces, translation Kurds, U.S.-backed Kurdish forces, launched an attack on the stronghold of Manbij, which is 72 miles to the northwest of Raqqa and lies on a key supply route linking Raqqa with the Turkish border. In terms of direct coordination of activities on the ground, that's not happening, according to Pentagon's press secretary, Peter Cook. I know that there have been discussions about changing that, but at this point our position is the same. Asked about it Monday, President Vladimir Putin's spokesman Dmitry Peskov told reporters, "We exchange information with the United States on a daily basis, twice a day, that's all I can say. Don't know which one I want to believe." U.S. officials have consistently said there are frequent conversations about flight safety issues and daily phone line checks to ensure the two nations can communicate quickly when necessary. I'm betting that in addition to those flight safety issues and daily phone line checks, a little bit of information is at least getting through from Russia to the U.S., unless what the Russia meant was communicate twice a day was the phone line checks. I don't know. I will dig and see what I can find out. Lena Khatib, head of the Middle East and North African program at Chatham House think tank, said it was hard to imagine such dual attacks on ISIS happening without prior agreement between the U.S. and Russia. Cooperation between the two global powers which back opposing sides of the war has marked the Syrian conflict in recent years. So, basically, if her opinion is right, and I see it as accurate, how are we going to launch strikes without hitting each other, without a little bit of communication? And this Syria analyst, Christopher Kozak, at the Institute for the Study of War, the twin offensive showed the government is being astute in taking advantage of the SDF offensive, SDF, reminder, is Kurds, offensive to improve its position on Raqqa. It's not a coincidence that these things are happening at the same time, but I would not go so far as to say there's cooperation. I think there's an unofficial cooperation, unofficial meaning we won't step on you if you stay out of our, you stay in your lane, we'll stay in our lane, you do this, we'll do that, and never the two sides may meet. The Syrian Democratic Forces, a mixed religion anti-ISIS coalition made up of Kurdish and Arab groups, is dominated by the YPG. The U.S. provides critical air support to the SDF, and hundreds of U.S. Special Forces, Operation Forces help train the group. Yes, the SDF, the Syrian Democratic Forces, i.e. the Kurds, a mixed religion anti-Islamic state or Daesh coalition made up of Kurdish and Arab groups, is dominated by the YPG, the Kurds. The U.S. provides critical air support to the SDF, and hundreds, aka the Syrian Democratic Forces, and hundreds of U.S. Special Operation Forces help train the group. Russia has offered to support the Kurds partly to gain leverage over Turkey, which considers the PYD, another Kurdish group, to be a terrorist group. In a way, it's similar to the offensive on Fallujah in Iraq, where the Iraqi army works alongside Shiite militias against ISIS. Iraqi army is largely Sunni. Shiite and Sunni don't get along. Both the Syrian and Iraqi armies do not have capacity to be sole actors in the battle against ISIS, and their external backers have incorporated the presence of non-state actors to provide military support. The SDF the Syrian Defense Force denies coordinating with the Syrian government. Such dynamics are partly why the group is viewed with suspicion by other Syrian actors and local population in Arab-majority areas. Bassama Kodmani, a member of the Syrian opposition group known as the High Negotiations Committee, is perplexed by the SDF's political position, saying the group sometimes attacks the Syrian army and sometimes fights on the same side. We have a player here that's not at all clear what they stand for, what they want, what their ultimate agenda is. None of this is clear to us. Such opacity creates outright hostility. The perceived coordination between the SDF and Syrian army is a potential problem for the U.S. because the Syrian government forces get more emboldened by each military victory against the Islamic State. The Obama administration is keen to demonstrate some form of achievement against the Islamic State before the end of the president's term, and in a way it seems that the focus on military achievement is overshadowing what happens day to day. I believe it. Raqqa is frequently targeted by the U.S. coalition, as well as the Syrian and Russian Air Force. The battle for Raqqa is expected to be long and hard, with Syrian troops still about 45 miles, 75 kilometers for anybody listening overseas, away. Very few expect any real push towards the city anytime soon. Kozak said the government is making a low-cost investment to position itself near Raqqa and message its involvement in the ISIS campaign to bolster its international credibility. The SDF has not been able to recruit enough Arab fighters, and the Kurds would rather focus on liberating areas in the Raqqa governorate that border the Kurdish regions. So, the Kurds want to try and clean out what's near their home, which makes sense, and the Syrian government's trying to position itself near Raqqa to say, see, we're still here, we're still hanging on, we're trying to kick them out. A Raqqa resident who recently fled said the militants have dug trenches and planted mines around the city in anticipation of attack. The resident, who spoke on condition of anonymity, fears for his safety, and said the militants were well prepared for what they perceived to be a decisive battle, whether it's with the SDF or army troops. All right. Now, remember I mentioned that there was a joint thing going on with Fallujah? I've got a little bit of audio on Fallujah. Let me find it. I know I have it. I got too much stuff going on here on my board today. I need to clean it out. Let me see if I can find it. I know I prepared it. All right, let me get it for you real quick. But yeah, so we're also attacking Fallujah. And what makes that interesting is the residents of Fallujah. All right. Give me 1 second to get this. Sorry, I thought I had this pulled up. I am getting it pulled up as we speak, and I'll have it in a couple seconds. This is from someone on the ground who's an apparent aid worker. I could not find attribution for this, but we are going to take a listen as I feel it's important because it discusses what the people in Fallujah are like when they come out and what they've been living through. And then, yes, I will take a break after this because I know I'm past bottom of the hour. Well, bear with me.
We responded last week over 2 days with assistance of food and other household items to approximately 700 families that fled the outskirts of Fallujah and Al Garma district and are settled now in the Amriyat Fallujah. We can see from the families that fled that the impact of this worsening situation on them, be it in terms of their access to food, to medication, and to water. More are expected, of course, as the flood intensifies. Families are expected to flee from the city center towards the surrounding areas.
Sorry that audio was so rough, but I felt it was important. So basically, they're helping the families have what they mean and have what they need and trying to help them get to safety. But you heard the numbers. They're pretty outstanding. All right. Now, we are going to take a commercial break. And I will be back with you on the other side of said commercial break.
For writers and public personalities, it's becoming increasingly important to have an online presence. This normally takes the form of a website and social media. However, things like a cluttered site or broken links can scare potential readers away. It's time to get a health check. Until the 30th of June, Black Wolf Editorial Services is offering a special website health check package. Get a new bio for your site. Have the site navigation and general layout assessed. Get a review of your Twitter activities. Get an objective opinion about your public Facebook page. Find out what works well and what could potentially scare your readers away. And all this for $35. At the end of the day, the face we put online will be the one that most people will see. Let us help you put your best foot forward. Black Wolf Editorial Services, nurturing your writing into maturity. For full details and a list of other services, visit us at blackwolfeditorial.com.
Is debt beating you down? You need discipline. You need the Debt Ninja. If you've been caught in a financial trap and need to be set free, then you need the Debt Ninja. Want to stop those harassing collection calls, start saving thousands in interest and fees, and get out of debt fast? Then you need to call the Debt Ninja. The Debt Ninja will find the best companies across the country that will help you consolidate all your bills into one easy payment, reduce your payments by 30 to 50%, and get you out of debt fast. If you have unsecured debt of $10,000 or more, such as credit cards, loans, or medical bills, call the Debt Ninja for a free 15-minute consultation.
Call 800-826-1246. 800-826-1246. That's 800-826-1246. Call today.
The Debt Ninja.
Individuals and businesses with tax problems, listen carefully. Do you feel like you're losing control over your finances? If you owe over $10,000 in back taxes or have unfiled tax returns, we can help you take back control. The IRS is the largest and most aggressive collection agency in the world, and they can seize your bank account, garnish your paycheck, close your business, and file criminal charges. Take control of your tax problems now by calling the experts at Tax Mediation Services and take advantage of the Fresh Start program and new laws that may allow us to negotiate a settlement for the lowest amount possible. Our team of tax attorneys and enrolled agents can stop collections and get you protected so you can take control of your financial future. Tax Mediation Services is accredited by the Better Business Bureau. Call now for a free case review and a price protection guaranteed quote.
Call Tax Mediation Services now at 800-610-9050. That's 800-610-9050. 800-610-9050.
This is Slickery Trigger for Rebel Road Tactical. With proper care and feeding, your pistol will be ready when you need it, there to save your life. Shouldn't your gear be that good? Whether you need a holster for comfortable everyday carry or a tough-as-nails holster for your next training course, Rebel Road Tactical has what you need. Check us out on the web at rebelroadtactical.com.
Hey, this is Dave Bray, America's Patriotic Rocker. Just giving you a shout-out. Make sure you stay tuned and listen in to K98 Talk.
69 years ago today, Private First Class Paul...
Okay, that kind of got the jump on me. I did not expect that audio to... I accidentally clicked that audio, but we're just going to talk about D-Day. This is what the last half of my show is about. Because this is June 6th. 2016, which is the 72nd anniversary. Now, the D stands for day, and H hours stand for secret time. D-Day and H hours stand for the secret day and time any operation is scheduled to begin. The code names for the 5 beaches where the Allies landed were Utah, Omaha, Gold, Juneau, and Sword. June 5th was originally chosen for the invasion, but bad weather forced the Allies to postpone one day. More than 13,000 aircraft and 5,000 ships supported the operation. Allied casualties on D-Day have been estimated at 10,000 killed, wounded, and missing in action. 6,603 Americans, 2,700 British, and 946 Canadians. So no, we weren't the only country there. We may have been the largest, but we weren't the only one. Alright, now, you're going to not hear much from me in this because I feel that other people have done a better job. First thing I'm going to play is FDR, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, President FDR's speech to the nation on June 6, 1944. And I can't imagine a current United States president speaking this way, and I'm so thankful he lived in a time when he could.
Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States.
My fellow Americans, last night, when I spoke with you about the fall of Rome, I knew at that moment that troops of the United States and our allies were crossing the Channel in another and greater operation. It has come to pass with success thus far. And so, in this poignant hour, I ask you to join with me in prayer. Almighty God, our sons, pride of our nation, this day have set upon a mighty endeavor, a struggle to preserve our republic, our religion, and our civilization, and to set free a suffering humanity. Lead them straight and true. Give strength to their arms, stoutness to their hearts, steadfastness in their faith. They will need thy blessings. Their road will be long and hard. For the enemy is strong. He may hurl back our forces. Success may not come with rushing speed, but we shall return again and again. And we know that by thy grace and by the righteousness of our cause, our sons will triumph. They will be sore tried by night and by day, without rest, until the victory is won. The darkness will be rent by noise and flame. Men's souls will be shaken with the violences of war. For these men are lately drawn from the ways of peace. They fight not for the lust of conquest. They fight to end conquest. They fight to liberate. They fight to let justice arise and tolerance and goodwill among all thy people. They yearn but for the end of battle, for their return to the haven of home. Some will never return. Embrace these, Father, and receive them, thy heroic servants, into thy kingdom. And for us at home, fathers, mothers, children, wives, sisters, and brothers of brave men overseas, whose thoughts and prayers are ever with them, help us, Almighty God, to rededicate ourselves in renewed faith in Thee in this hour of great sacrifice. Many people have urged that I call the nation into a single day of special prayer. But because the road is long and the desire is great, I ask that our people devote themselves in a continuance of prayer as we rise to each new day, and again when each day is spent, let words of prayer be on our lips, invoking thy help to our efforts. Give us strength, too, strength in our daily tasks, to redouble the contributions we make in the physical and the material support of our armed forces. And let our hearts be stout to wait out the long travail, to bear sorrows that may come, to impart our courage unto our sons, wheresoever they may be. And, O Lord, give us faith. Give us faith in Thee, faith in our sons, faith in each other, faith in our united crusade. Let not the keenness of our spirit ever be dulled. Let not the impacts of temporary events, of temporal matters of but fleeting moment, let not these deter us in our unconquerable purpose. With thy blessing, we shall prevail over the unholy forces of our enemy. Help us to conquer the apostles of greed and racial arrogances. Lead us to the saving of our country, and with our sister nations into a world unity that will spell a sure peace, a peace invulnerable to the schemings of unworthy men, and a peace that will let all men live in freedom, reaping the just rewards of their honest toil. Thy will be done, Almighty God. Amen.
I mean, how many times did he refer to God in prayer? And I've never heard another U.S. president refer to God that many times in a speech. And yes, I know the audio was long. I'm probably going to run a little bit long. And I'm just going to ask you to bear with me, but I think the D-Day is important. I think it's vital. Now, I've got an interview that took place with a D-Day survivor. And again, I feel it's very important to bring you this.
Your
69 years ago today, Private First Class Paul Winters was a 20-year-old medic standing on a beach in Normandy overlooking the carnage of the invasion. Paul was one of the first to land on Omaha Beach in the Dog Red sector near the Lemoyne Draw.
The Germans, on both sides of that draw, they had emplacements with machine guns, and they were really popping us.
Paul describes the invasion as petrifying and confusing. What made it worse was the fact he was an unarmed medic.
As soon as somebody's wounded, they holler medic. And you have to make a decision whether you're going to go to them or wait until things quiet down a little bit. I mean, a lot of times, fellows are wounded, and you risk your life, something awful, to get to them.
Paul hit the beach with 181 men. That night, only 52 remained. The rest had been lost, killed, or drowned.
It was utter confusion, believe me.
The morning after the invasion, D-Day +1, Paul found himself on a precipice above the beach.
Up at the top there, when I looked down and saw all those ships out at sea and all of them lined up along that beach and the mess on that beach, is when I really realized what that invasion was about.
Paul made it through the rest of the war and is proud to share his story with others. He encourages other veterans to do the same.
If they can talk about it, to let their children and grandchildren know. You don't have to tell the gory part of war, but I certainly would encourage veterans to discuss their experiences so that the people know.
For News 11, I'm Peter Taraborelli.
All right, so that was a D-Day survivors account, and that man was an unarmed medic, and he risked his life to save others. Now, I've got two more pieces. I promise I'm almost to the end, but I feel both of these are important. I could not decide between them. One of them was Ronald Reagan's address at Omaha Beach on the 40th anniversary, and I feel his words are true then as they are as true now as they were then. Let's take a listen.
Mr. President, distinguished guests, we stand today at a place of battle, one that 40 years ago saw and felt the worst of war. Men bled and died here for a few feet or inches of sand as bullets and shell fire cut through their ranks. About them, General Omar Bradley later said, "Every man who set foot on Omaha Beach that day was a hero." No speech can adequately portray their suffering, their sacrifice, their heroism. President Lincoln once reminded us that through their deeds, the dead of battle have spoken more eloquently for themselves than any of the living ever could. That we can only honor them by rededicating ourselves to the cause for which they gave a last full measure of devotion. Today, we do rededicate ourselves to that cause. And at this place of honor, we're humbled with the realization of how much so many gave to the cause of freedom and to their fellow man. Some who survived the Battle of June 6, 1944 are here today. Others who hope to return never did. Someday, Liz, I'll go back, said Private First Class Peter Robert Zanetta of the 37th Engineer Combat Battalion and 1st Assault Wave to hit Omaha Beach. I'll go back and I'll see it all again. I'll see the beach, the barricades, and the graves. Those words of Private Zanetta come to us from his daughter, Lisa Zanetta Hen, in a heart-rending story about the event her father spoke of so often. In his words, the Normandy invasion would change his life forever, she said. She tells some of his stories of World War II, but says of her father, the story to end all stories was D-Day. He made me feel the fear of being on that boat waiting to land. I can smell the ocean and feel the seasickness. I can see the looks on his fellow soldiers' faces, the fear, the anguish, the uncertainty of what lay ahead. And when they landed, I can feel the strength and courage of the men who took those first steps through the tide to what must have surely looked like instant death. Private Zanata's daughter wrote to me, "I don't know how or why I can feel this emptiness, this fear, or this determination, but I do. Maybe it's the bond I had with my father. All I know is that it brings tears to my eyes to think about my father as a 20-year-old boy having to face that beach. The anniversary of D-Day was always special for her family, and like all the families of those who went to war, she describes how she came to realize her own father's survival was a miracle. So many men died. I know that my father watched many of his friends be killed. I know that he must have died inside a little each time. But his explanation to me was, you did what you had to do, and you kept on going. When men like Private Zanata and all our Allied forces stormed the beaches of Normandy 40 years ago, they came not as conquerors, but as liberators. When these troops swept across the French countryside and into the forests of Belgium and Luxembourg, they came not to take, but to return what had been wrongly seized. When our forces marched into Germany, they came not to prey on a brave and defeated people, but to nurture the seeds of democracy among those who yearn to be free again. We salute them today. But, Mr. President, we also salute those who, like yourself, were already engaging the enemy inside your beloved country, the French resistance. Your valiant struggle for France did so much to cripple the enemy and spur the advance of the armies of liberation. The French forces of the interior will forever personify courage and national spirit. They will be a timeless inspiration to all who are free and to all who would be free. Today, in their memory, and for all who fought here, we celebrate the triumph of democracy. We reaffirm the unity of democratic peoples who fought a war and then joined with the vanquished in a firm resolve to keep the peace. From a terrible war, we learned that unity made us invincible. Now, in peace, that same unity makes us secure. We sought to bring all freedom-loving nations together in a community dedicated to the defense and preservation of our sacred values. Our alliance, forged in the crucible of war, tempered and shaped by the realities of the post-war world, has succeeded. In Europe, the threat has been contained. The peace has been kept. Today, the living here assembled, officials, veterans, citizens, are a tribute to what was achieved here 40 years ago. This land is secure. We are free. These things are worth fighting and dying for.
Yes, freedom isn't free, but 72 years ago today, thousands of men knew the price of freedom and understood it wasn't free. They also understood many of them may not make it home. Now, I've got one last piece of audio I'm going to play. And I think I'm going to end on this. And this is a song called The Shores of Normandy by Jim Radford. So, take a listen with me.
In the cold grey light of the 6th of June, in the year of 44, the Empire lads sailed out from Poole to join with thousands more. The largest fleet the world had seen, we sailed in close array, and we set our course for Normandy at the dawning of the day. There was not one man in all our crew but knew what lay in store. For we had waited for that day through 5 long years of war. We knew that many would not return, but all our hearts were true. For we were bound for Normandy, where we had a job to do. Now the Empire Larch was a deep-sea tug with a crew of 33. And I was just the galley boy on my first trip to sea. I little thought when I left home of the dreadful sights I'd see. When I came to manhood on the day that I first saw Normandy. At Armagh, off the beach of gold, 'neath the rocket's deadly glare, we towed our block ships into place, and we built a harbour there. Mid shot and shell, we built it well, as history does agree. While brave men died in the swirling tide on the shores of Normandy. For every hero's name that's known, 1,000 died as well. On stakes and wires their bodies hung, rocked in the ocean swell. And many a mother wept that day for the sons they loved so well. Men who cracked a joke and catch the smoke as they stormed the gates of hell. As the years pass by, I can still recall the men I saw that day, who died upon that blood-soaked sand where now sweet children play. And those of you who were on board, who've lived in liberty, remember those who made it so on the shores of Normandy.
I decided to add taps and the 21 gun salute as the closing sounds for today.